Hi, welcome to the Imperfect and Overlooked podcast, where we discuss stories and experiences of the people like me who feel unheard and undervalued. I'm your host, Tammy Fierce. Hello. Thank you for joining me on my first episode of the Imperfect and Overlooked podcast. Okay, here's the deal. Before we jump into any discussions, let me introduce myself. So for the people who don't know me, you guys won't have to feel like we are strangers, that we have to listen to my voice and you don't know who I am. My name is Tammy Ferris. I am a wife and a mom to my two beautiful daughters, Kylie and Casey. As you can hear from my accent, yes, I'm Vietnamese. I moved to America when I was 13 years old. I live in Arkansas, so yep, I do have a little bit country accents in me. Some of my friends say I have a Cajun accent, which means country and Asian mixed together. That is one of the reasons why it took me so long to start this podcast. Because I was so insecure about my accent, so I was afraid that how would these people would understand me. I had an idea to start a podcast since 2019, and I keep thinking and wondering, should I do it? Originally, the podcast would be started with Overlooked Podcast, but it just didn't come to me naturally, and back then I had no purpose why I started the podcast. I was thinking I just want to vent. I just want to talk about my life to people. But 3 days ago, God gave me a vision and the purpose why I should start this podcast. So, because of everything I'm doing here is raw, is original, my imperfect accent, and my English. That's why I'm calling my podcast Imperfect and Overlooked Podcast. So everything you listen on this podcast will be natural, no filter whatsoever. So you might wondering, what is the meaning behind this podcast and what is the purpose? Here you go. I'm feeling as people who love to talk about things that bright and shine and perfect, but nobody want to talk anything about in the dark or stuff that not perfect because they feel shame or they feeling people might judge them, just like how I was insecure about my accent. So I want to create these things because there will be a lot of discussions further down the road. Keeping up with my episodes, each episode I'm breaking it down in different categories that I will want to talk about for people having a job that people looking down on, or stay-at-home mom that people look down on, etc. Something like that. But as of right now, I just want to thank y'all that spending your time, listen to me and get to know who I am and why did I start this podcast. Now don't forget to join me on my next episode where we'll be discuss about the people who have job that be looking down on and being overlooked. Also, if you have any stories that you want me to share with everybody else, you are welcome to email imperfectandoverlooked@gmail.com. Once again, I really appreciate that you spend your time with me today and hanging out with me. I have a blast and I hope you do too. So I'll see you next week.